Google is offering free AI training and tools to U.S. small businesses so they can innovate in ways both big and small. Built by Google experts, the Google AI Professional Certificate equips small businesses with practical AI skills. Through hands-on projects, they can start using AI to get more done and unlock new opportunities for their business. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at grow.google/business.
This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video. Watch now.
This summer, say I do.
I am marrying a stranger.
Like never before.
Am I crazy?
It's a whole new Married at First Sight on Peacock.
Thank God I woke up in love.
With new experts.
My name is Dr. Lisa.
My name is Paul Brunson.
More couples.
This could be the start of a very successful marriage.
And more surprises.
Or maybe not.
Everything is just not enough.
You're a little bit crazy.
I don't know what's going to happen. I want my fairy tale ending.
Married at First Sight. Streaming July 12th. Only on Peacock.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hook Rocks. It's Jay Scott. Thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Been kind of absent over the last month or so. We just did the Josh Todd interview last week with Buck Cherry, but prior to that, I kind of took the month of May off. Did 14 episodes in April, and my son is gearing up for high school graduation, and just kind of decided to designate more time to that whole process and enjoy that whole thing with prom and graduation. And so I just took a little time off from the podcast, but glad to be back. Glad to welcome all you back. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, we are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a great network of music related podcasts. So please check them out at pantheonpodcast.com. There's podcasts for everyone on there. A lot of my friends are on that, like Mac from the Ugly American Werewolf in London podcast, and my boys Tom and Zeus on the Shout Out Loudcast, Great Kiss podcast, and many others as well. And you can also check out the Hook Rocks on all social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Hook Rock. So please check out that. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe or follow us wherever you do podcasts so you get the latest episodes right to your phone. And you can enjoy all the previous episodes too as well. We are approaching our 500th episode. We're also approaching our 4-year anniversary episode. So we've been kind of doing this for a while, and I think we've reached veteran status at this point, maybe. I don't know. People can determine that, but Don't forget to check out some of the previous episodes we've done this year. We did a great interview with Kip Winger from the band Winger, talking their new album. It's a great interview, and a lot of people sent me messages on that, complimenting the conversation that we had with Kip. So please enjoy that. George Lynch from Dokken and Lynch Mob returned once again, his fourth time on the show. Always great to have George. Always great to see the rapport that I've built with him and the conversations that we can have. So enjoy that. Like I mentioned, Josh Todd from Buck Cherry. And we also welcomed the Lost Hearts band, the new band out of Nashville. Great band there. And we also talked about AI, TikTok, and live streaming and where things are going with that in the music business with Christine Eagle, our rock music insider. Always great to have her on once a quarter. And these are really timely topics, especially TikTok and potential ban that it's facing here in the United States. A lot of states have already banned it. A lot of state agencies have already banned it. And then, of course, AI, which has really impacted music and will continue to impact music over the next foreseeable future as that grows and grows. And unfortunately, it grows and grows. I don't think AI has any place in the music business. That's just my opinion. And I'm sure people differ on that or agree with that. But I just think that, authenticity in the organic way of rock and roll is always the best way. So check out those. And of course, early in the year, we had Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick and Richie Kotzen from the Winery Dogs. So lots of great stuff planned here for the summer. So please continue to tune in. And getting back to what we do, like probably our biggest thing we do here is new music spotlights and talking about new bands and talking with new bands. We love doing it. About 35 to 40% of our episodes are geared towards new music and talking about it and talking with the bands. So without further ado, this band here arrived with their new album in 2022. It was on a lot of lists for our top 10 albums of the year when we did our final year-end review of our celebration of music for each year. And that is the band Abrams. And my guest is Zach. What's happening, man? How are you?
What's up, Jay? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and I know we were trying to schedule things over the last 6 weeks or so. We finally are able to get it done. But I got to tell you, without the group of people that I communicate with on social media, the Groove Council, as we call ourselves, we're always exchanging new music with each other. This band was really championed by my co-host of our quarterly album reviews and our year-end reviews, Chris Corradetti. You can find him at CO_Mountaineer on Twitter. And he just is a huge fan. He's in the Denver area and just loves the band Abrams. Can't say enough about it, and turned me on to it. And just an incredible album, incredible journey of music.
Hey, I really appreciate that. I mean, it's funny just hearing how, people have found us. This is actually our fourth full length. So, just hearing different stories about, people sharing the record with their friends and then catching on, kind of a grassroots thing. However you're able to hear it, we're happy that you're, that it's getting into the right ears. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The album is so layered and is really, I always love it when an album really takes me on a journey and, the songs really connect with each other, not so much in a concept way, but just a flow. And I always enjoy that when you start an album and it begins and you kind of take off with it and you kind of land when the album's over. There's no kind of peaks and valleys. And I really thought that was the biggest thing with this album is it sounds, even though, this is your fourth studio album and you guys are still growing your audience and still growing, the band, there's really a sense of maturity in terms of the sound, in terms of the approach to writing.
Oh, completely agree with you 100%. This record was really just another turn for us. I think, we kind of, earlier in the days, we were pretty, stream driven. Over the last 2 records, we got over that. We actually want to try and, do some hooks, pun intended, clean singing and really focus on melody, but still keeping it, heavy rock based. And this record, you mentioned flow. That's also really important to us. I think listening to a full album these days kind of almost is like a lost art, where it's very single driven. The new Spotify singles out, you release like 12 singles a year, but I love just putting on, a vinyl record, or even if it's just, streaming a record from top to bottom, something that I can listen to and that flows, really evenly and nicely for 35, 50 minutes. I just think that, to me, that piece of art will never get old for me. Just the full album, thing. But yeah, man, we just definitely really wanted to do something, a little bit different, but still keep our main influences intact, but also just kind of go with a big, heavy sound. And I think we succeeded.
Before we get further into the album In the Dark, we always ask the same first question to our first-time guest on the show, and that really is what the podcast is all about. And that's just like every great rock song has a hook that pulls you in. Every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance, that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Oh, man. I would say, well, growing up, my dad was a huge, Neil Young, Springsteen fan. So him kind of showing me, I remember just watching, actually, he showed me, I don't know if you're familiar, but the Rockin' in the Free World performance they did with Pearl Jam at the MTV like movie awards or music, I don't know, something like that. But
oh yeah,
I think that got me hooked. That's like one of the greatest live performances of all time. And like seeing Eddie up there with Neil just rocking out on the whammy bar, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that, man. And I don't know, my dad had a big influence on me, and just like creating, giving me an awesome platform to listen to. I remember just like me and my brother like jamming around the house, like air guitaring with like tennis rackets or something. So he kind of got me into that stuff at an early age. But I'd say, like that 70s, 80s classic rock stuff, going into grunge stuff, that's really what got me kind of hooked.
What when was it that you decided you wanted to be in a band?
Good question, man. I mean, I was in bands in like high school, but nothing too serious. It was like my real first band actually was just like right after college. So I went to Boulder. We're Denver based, so CU. Boulder, met a bunch of hippies out there, and then after school I was like, does anyone rock in this town? And moved to Denver, met there's a great rock scene in town, and just kind of going to shows, local shows, and meeting people and jamming. That's when I was like, I can do this. I feel like kind of late to the party, because after college, it's like people start bands so young, but like I really got serious into it, my early 20s, and I was like, I want to do this. And that first band I joined, I met our bass player Taylor, and Taylor and I are, the two, founding members of Abrams, and we've been doing it for, man, it's crazy to say, almost 10 years. So yeah, we're just a great team, and we've got a good 4-piece right now. So yeah, early 20s really.
Yeah, that Denver scene has been kind of a sneaky scene for the last few years. Like more and more bands I notice are coming out of Denver. And maybe that's because of the population shift. They've experienced the growth over the last 15 years in population. So kind of makes sense, right? Things start to change and more people start to move into a place. You're going to have things that weren't there before. Like I think of you guys and I think of the band Fast Eddie, which is from Denver. And then, what's
good
the
friends
one?
of ours.
Yeah. What's the one band? Is it Near Dusk? Are they from Denver?
Near Dusk is from Denver.
Yeah.
And then, like everyone always says, like Chemists, they're from here. They're our good buddies, who blew up within the last couple of years, getting on like tours with Mastodon and Opeth and stuff like that. And just like a really, really good scene of not just like just rock and roll, but a lot of metal, a lot of, doom stuff. Fast Eddie's got a cool scene out here too, with that type of, garage type of rock and stuff like that. So I went to a show last night. There's a show every night, last night, our buddies in Love Gang, they just put out a really kick-ass record on Heavy Psych Sounds, played last night. So it's just a good scene out here, a lot to do. But you're right, it's been 10 years ago, really before the whole weed thing got crazy, Denver was kind of a cow town, and we get a lot of transplants now, which is bumping up rent price, and the housing market's crazy out here. So it brings in a lot of transplants, which is cool because I don't know, I think the more people the better. And I don't know, people are excited about it. There's like Thursday night, it's a packed show at this bar. So people are out and about and looking to have a good time, looking for good live music. I know you were talking about like AI and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, stuff is like getting in the music industry now. It's like just going out and seeing four dudes, plug in and play like real music. I think that's never going to go away. I think people are always going to want to see that crap, and you can't beat that, really.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a ever quickly evolving world in the music industry, like it's like week to week now. It used to take time for things to change and things to evolve and a new scene or a new sound to rise from what's happening now. But it's almost like things are so fast and things are so quick. And it's been that way in certain areas. That's why we've gone into like a singles generation, right? Because, you got to stay in front of people, and you got to, people's attention spans are not what they were because they're always on their phones and are always looking for the next best thing. But, you just look at everything that's happening. It's like a year from now, where will the music business be? Where will rock music be? Because that's what we focus on. And it's just the unknown. It really is. And it's a shame on one end, but I think it's also, there's a lot of positives too, as well. I think because of the lack of focus from major labels and this mainstream market for rock music, I think rock has really become music for people making it and music for its fans. It's not, we always ask this question or talk about it. Do we want rock music to be mainstream again? Yes, we do. We want it to be as popular as it can be, but at the same time, what will be lost if that happens? You look at pop music and you look at all the other mainstream type of music, and it's not authentic anymore. It's very, especially pop music. I can't think of any pop artist that's really authentic in terms of recording, in terms of live shows, in terms of all that stuff. It's crazy.
I hear you, man. I'll be the first to tell you, I'd love it to be mainstream because I want to quit my day job, man. But, it's the thing you're saying about everything is so fast right now. It's like people have, tiny attention spans. You work on a record for, I don't know, it takes me 9 months, let's just say a year to write a record, get 10 to 12 songs. It takes about a month to record it, and then by the time you get a label to put it out and vinyl to come in, it's another year. So it's a 2-year process, and by the time it comes out, you're sick of it, and you're already on to the next one, and it's like, all right, I hope this catches on, but it's like there's one good thing that you were saying is, it's a lot easier to get to put out music, to be in a band. It's you can do it, cost effectively, pretty cheaply. You don't need like major label or an insane amount of money to do it, but that's a double-edged sword because now there's just so much product out there. It's hard to kind of like stand out, where people are really using social media. It's based off of like, how many Instagram followers do you have, or how many likes did you get on this post? Not about like how sick the record is, So it's just like you got to play that game too. But for us, it's always going to be music first, full record, front to back, all killer, no filler, and just keep pumping them out. Whether there's 10 people in the show in Phoenix or 1,000 people at some show down the road, we're just stoked to play.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really, really interesting about rock music is, in order to be in a rock band and be successful years ago, you had to go to LA. And, how that relates to scenes that now are popping up is you no longer have to go to LA to get noticed. I mean, you guys are in Denver. Nashville has really become kind of the ground zero for all things rock at this point, but there's also other areas too, or pretty much any area can pop up and have its own scene, and a band can do what you're doing or anyone else without having to go to LA. And let's face it, the cost of living in California is also a hindrance to anyone trying to be an artist and make it at that point. So when you kind of stay local, like with Denver, you're able to do kind of the same things that you were able to do maybe in the 80s and in the 70s, but you can do it now anywhere. And, if you get to a certain level and you want to move somewhere else, whether it's Nashville, New York, whatever, you can do that, but you can always start your base now. And I think that helps the creativity too, because, you're in an environment you're comfortable with, and you're making music, and you have the ability to do virtually the same stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, you don't have to be, basically all we need is our 4 guys, close to each other, but also just having that camaraderie that we do. Obviously I don't know what it was like in Seattle and during that, late 80s, early 90s thing, but like, honestly, like, we've done a bit of traveling all across the US, and there's like, for some reason Denver just seems to have like a really good home base of a bunch of bands, a bunch of like rock bands, like just whatever that is, rock, metal, garage rock, punk, stuff like that, where I just kind of see a lot of the camaraderie, like between bands locally, with that, like maybe what was happening in Seattle and that before that crazy explosion. Not to say that Denver's going to explode. There's going to be another like, Nirvana or something like that, which will never happen again, in my opinion. But yeah, you don't have to go to LA. Right now our biggest thing is like, we actually have we're trying to figure out where to record the next record, and we're trying to, do some moves, and we're picking between a couple of guys right now where we're going to have to travel for that, which is exciting, but, costly. And I think it's definitely going to be a positive thing because, we're talking to some good dudes, but, having to travel for recording could be fun, put yourself in like a different, more uncomfortable environment, which can kind of like create some pressure, which I think you can thrive under that kind of pressure, when there's money on the table and there's time limits and stuff like that. It's like, oh crap, gotta really like buckle down and get this done. So that's another exciting thing to think about.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. How important is it for you when recording to have comfort or be uncomfortable? I mean, obviously everybody wants to be comfortable, but what do you think better serves the music?
Well, we try to come in as prepared as possible, with a lot of pre-production done, a lot of demoing. Like where I'm sitting now is where I do most of our demos, and, come in with full-fledged ideas with, especially like within the last record, we really did a lot of pre-production and spent a lot of time on vocal melodies. So if you're really comfortable with the songs, you know, and you know, pumped about them, excited about them, I think that kind of relieves some pressure. That's the number one thing. It's like you got to be really confident in you know what you're going to spend a lot of money on recording. That takes off a lot of the pressure. That's the bad pressure, you know. But the good pressure, I think, is like having that pressure of, okay, we've got 3 weeks to do this entire record, or you know, I've only got 5 days to you know, belt, and hopefully I don't lose my voice. You know, those types of time constraints. You know, also with, you know, looking at the amount of money that you're going to owe for that is good pressure. That it's like, all right, we better do it. Just get up and do it. So that's the type of good pressure, I think. But you know, trying to relieve, like just coming in fully prepared as possible. You know, tight. Just rehearse, and come in, and you're good. It's all fun after that, really.
What about the producer, the guy that sits in the chair?
Yeah,
he tries to get the most out of you. Like
totally.
I said, you know, is it welcome to feel a little uncomfortable? Welcome to be challenged if it serves the music?
For sure. We so with the last record, we did. We went to Dave Otero, who's actually in town. He's a fantastic, not only just a great engineer, mixer, master, but really what we're going to him for is basically hiring him as a fifth member of the band. I think it's really important to, you know, because we spend so much time just as a 4-piece, you know, just in our own minds, listening to our demos, and it's like, okay, this is the right way. But having that outside ear is really important. And he's always got fantastic ideas, whether it's, you know, vocal harmonies or, you know, like a different song structure. I think we're all ears for that, because that's what we're really hiring, you know, the producer to do, is to basically improve us, and just like, it's nice to have that, you know, that little outside information coming in to make the songs better. So it's a plus for sure.
How much are you impacted by what's happening around you when you're creating and writing?
Good question. When I'm writing, I really try not to listen to, you know, a lot of new music. I'll kind of just go to my classics if I'm, you know, in the morning drive or something, or I just listen to like talk radio or something crazy like that. I try to just like, because I think it's easy to get, you know, see like, you know, who the hit new bands are, like what's catching on. It's like, oh man, we got to do that. We got to like, you know, we got to sound like Turnstile now or something like that. It's easy to get swayed. It's like, oh, everyone's flocking to this type of style. And it's like, you know, I feel like with this last record and like where we're going now is we're writing music that's more true to ourselves. And it's like, and I think that's very, what's the word? I don't know. Honest, you know? So it's just like, it's basically just me sitting here, just starts with just jamming on my guitar maybe, and I just hear like one riff and just build off of that, and it all happens very naturally. So I try not to get like swayed, or not try to like basically imitate other people. You're always going to have that naturally just based off your general influences, but that's where I think, you know, with this last record and with what we're writing right now, we kind of developed our own sound, and you can definitely, it's fun to hear like, you know, people comparing us to what they think we're influenced by. And I love always hearing stuff like, you know, you guys sound like this band. And it's like, I've never even listened to that band in my life. I think that's really cool. And it's just like, you know, a bunch of different like cool bands that I've never even heard of, or maybe that I have just never even like listened to. It's like I think that's really cool how people can pick different parts of, you know, what they can relate to or what they think it sounds like. And I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds cool.
I find the writing process probably the most intriguing part of creating music, because you know you're trying to come up with a hook, you're trying to come up with melodies that mirror the lyrics you're writing and writing about. What comes first for you typically? Is it a riff? Is it a melody? Is it lyrics? Is it all the above?
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's music first. It's a riff first. We changed our writing process for the last record just because we were doing it, you know, during COVID and everything. So prior to you know, the pandemic and everything, we would write all together in the room, and which was cool and all, but you know, we had to shift gears. We didn't really get together for a long time, you know, when the pandemic was happening. So I would basically demo out full songs on my, you know, just my little home studio here. Put, you know, like just a drum machine over it, something really simple, but that really helped, I think, our sound a lot, especially with the vocals, because prior to the pandemic, we'd be jamming out and I would just kind of improvise something, you know, while we were playing. But what I found was really helpful in writing really catchy and hooky vocals was, you know, once the song's just completely done, or, you know, once the music's completely recorded, put the guitar down and don't just sing, you know, just trying to find a hook over a chorus or over a verse while you're not playing the guitar. Because it's kind of like this thing, you know, when you're like playing and singing, like if I find it, the way for me to know if a vocal hook is catchy or good, it doesn't follow the guitar line. So if I pick up the guitar and try and sing and play at the same time, if it's hard to sing and play at the same time, I think that's a good testament of a good vocal hook, because it's not following the guitar line. So that way of writing was really cool. I kind of just, you know, I would demo out the full song, and then when we would get together, you know, I'd obviously send it out. They'd put in, you know, their input, and then, you know, obviously it goes through the filter of the whole band. You know, our drummer would come up with obviously a way sicker drum beat. Our bass player Taylor would come up with put his filter through it, and then, you know, some more guitar layers. So it's just a cool way, I think, of writing, you know, and presenting it to the band, where it goes through a bunch of different filters and then comes back a little bit different. But long-winded answer, so I hope I answered any of that.
Absolutely. When you're writing a riff and you're coming up with the melody and you're writing the music for it, do you try to mirror the vibe with the right lyrics, or is that completely separate?
So lyrics are for us. I mean, this one was like, it was a pretty personal record, but how I like to do it is it's basically just I'm finding the hook. So I'm just like mumbling syllables. And then through just mumbling syllables, I'll pick words that I really like and then write down. And then, you know, I end up, you know, just writing basically something that will fit over the melody that I'm writing. It's kind of like a weird algorithm, a weird equation that I do. And then kind of later, it's like, I really don't even understand what I'm like the lyrics are about until like I'm in the studio, or like I'm listening back. I'm like, oh man, that's actually a really strangely personal lyric that I had no idea. Like sometimes it just starts with gibberish, and then, you know, it gets inspired through, I think, just the vibe of the song. And then there's certain words that I just think sound cool, and then kind of just go off of that. So I definitely don't go in. I don't consider myself a poet at all. But I definitely, do not write lyrics, first, or like go in with like I'm going to write a song about, this specifically. It just kind of happens very off the cuff, really, which I think is a fun, natural way of writing.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Oscar Mayer hot dogs and Heinz mustard. Grill up a dog, add classic yellow mustard, or loaded Chicago style. We all know it's not a cookout without Oscar Mayer and Heinz.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Do you ever feel, or do you ever approach very personal things for you when writing? Is that a difficult process?
I definitely do. The last two records were, I would say our last three records were all really personal. Our record our second record, Morning, Taylor and I were doing a lot. We were sharing a lot of the vocal duties more. And we were both going through like some bad breakups at the time. So that's our breakup record. So that stuff is, just obviously personal. But, the last two records, there's definitely a lot of personal stuff in there, just dealing with, just the ins and outs of the daily grind, but also, there's addiction stuff in there. There's just different experiences that we've all kind of gone through on a personal level that we write about it. Some of it, some of it is not really like right on the nose. I'd say one that is probably, our song called Better Living. I think it's the third track on In the Dark on the last record. And that's, that one's pretty on the nose. It's like basically about just doing the same thing, drinking and like, maybe it's time to pack up and do something else. So there's things like that are on the nose. I think I find that one is a favorite, lyrically, but it's also got that big chorus, big hook, and it's I don't know, people seem to really catch on to the lyrics and the catchiness of the song. So that one, I'm pretty proud of that song.
This last album you guys did really checked all the boxes for music fans, for rock fans. When you're recording something and you're creating, how do you know when a song is done and a song is ready to be recorded that kind of makes the magic of a complete album?
Yeah, that's always the toughest part. It's like, because we go in and we change stuff around. It's, we'll have verse, chorus, bridge, outro, but it's like, it's always like, there's just seems like there needs to be something else. Like, do we do a solo over the bridge, or do we do vocals over the bridge? So a lot of the times, that's where our producer will like, oh, we'll just save that part for the studio. We'll figure it out in the studio, which actually during that song, Better Living, we did during the bridge. It's like, it just seems like there needs to be something else, but we just added a crap ton of guitar harmonies and a solo over it. So I think when we're jamming it out, and it feels right, and then we listen back on a demo, and that's the thing. It's like having demos and doing pre-production is the key for this question, because actually just hearing it while you're just like not in the moment, you're just taking it in as a listener, you can really kind of take yourself out of just put yourself in the listener's perspective. It's like, and you can kind of say, oh, actually we might need to do this, or I think if we just do this part, half of this part than what we're doing here, it's an easier way to kind of hear it, and then we'll flesh it out, and if it sounds good, we'll keep it. So I think that's the best way to do it. And also just having a very confident, alpha producer, who's not afraid to share their opinions, which is what we want, tell us their opinion too.
What is the next step for the band? I mean, you mentioned you're recording a new album. This album was well received. This last album was well received. Do you feel like with this last album going into creating the next thing, do you look at that as a challenge? Is there a sense of trying to match or do better than this record? Like how does that psychological aspect of creating play into something when you have such a great album like this one?
Yeah, well, thanks for that compliment. We're always trying to, progress as musicians, individually and collectively as a band. So, we also don't want to write the same record, 5 different times, which I think we've been pretty successful at. We started, almost as like a noise rock band to like a sludge metal band to, the heavy rock band. And it still, it still has that heavy rock it still sounds like the same band, but we're just kind of challenging ourselves with going into different areas. We're writing some heavier, kind of rockier stuff that's pretty upbeat, bang your head kind of stuff. But we still got, I think with the last record, we did really good with like the heavier, like kind of ballady kind of stuff too. So there's still that in there too. But we're getting like a little more Queensy. We're doing some Queens of the Stone Age-y, I like to say. Doing some like weird alternate tuning kind of stuff. So we're just challenging ourselves in that respect, but we're always trying to, whatever it is, we're just going to try and write the best record possible as we can, as we can do. We just got off a little 2-week tour, around, did a little West Coast loop, which was fun. We haven't done a long one like that in a couple years. So that was good to get out there and promote the album. We got a couple of festivals we're doing this summer, and we're still trying to, finalize the dates and where we're going to record. But the goal is to finish that before the end of the year. So we can get something out in 2024 and just keep the cycle going and definitely do some more touring for sure.
Speaking of touring, how difficult is it for a new band, an up-and-coming band like yourself, to get out on the road and string along a collective amount of dates?
It's hard, man. It's the grind, but this last one was so much fun. We went out with our good friends, a great Denver band called Bleak Heart. And I mean, the band's going to go on to really big things. If you haven't heard of them, definitely check them out. Just listening to them, night after night, just be perfect and crushing, but also the way, we just had a blast bonding with them on tour and, having a bunch of fun. But yeah, I mean, it's a grind, especially, being in Denver too, like doing the West Coast. It's we're kind of an island out here, so it's long hauls. It's long drives, and, you never know what the turnout's going to be, but, there's ups and downs, good nights, bad nights, definitely more good than bad. We're not doing this obviously for the money, because we're not making a lot of it. We're doing it because it's, it's like we have to do it. If I wasn't writing music, if I wasn't playing music or performing, like I wouldn't know what I'd be doing. I'd be a lot less happy, I think. But yeah, we definitely want to keep going, and the goal is to do a lot more touring in the future. We just need to get some new record and new blood going. As always, keep going forward.
How much time do you guys spend on the road per year? Is it increased over time, or is there a set number of dates you want to do every year?
It's decreased over time. when we were younger, we'd go out for, 3 to 4 weeks at a time. I don't know, sometimes 3 times a year. So doing that, and that was all like DIY stuff. So now, I'd really love to get out there as much as possible, but it has to financially make sense. And, we all got jobs and stuff, and we got rent to pay and all that stuff. So we make it work internally. Some of the guys have, it's tougher for them to get off work, and that's totally understandable. But if we can get out there, if I can do, at least a month on the road, twice a year, I'd love that. It's probably pushing it for some of our guys, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So you can tell we talk about it internally. Sometimes I kind of push people a little off, a little close to the edge, but we keep as busy as we can.
How hard is it to keep a band together in the modern day of rock music?
Dude, I don't know how we've done it, because it's Ben Taylor and I, and we've gone through a slew of drummers, and we've recently just had another guitar player join, which, I mean, now that we're a 4-piece, way better than being a 3-piece, just a much fuller sound. So it's tough. We've actually had a very solid lineup since the addition of our drummer, Ryan, who is just the best kept secret in this town. Amazing percussionist. So the hardest part is finding, the 4 guys, the band members that actually have the same drive and motivation and are, okay with going on the road and eating beef jerky, and sleeping on floors and stuff like that. So that's the hardest part. Once you, I'd say it's 50% of just like the camaraderie and the relationship that you have, you're married to four guys, it's trying to keep those 4 marriages alive, on top of, having fun and being excited about the music and being creative together. And I think we're in a great spot right now. We're also happy with, especially just getting off the road. Everyone got jazzed and was like, oh man, I wish we were still going. I wish we can do another one. It's like, let's just record, let's do that. So the band's really excited right now. The band's really excited about the new material, really proud about the past. And we just feel like there's just more to do and more ears to get into, which is our goal. It's hard to get into ears, so thank you for having me on this podcast, because, the more people who can learn about our band, the more people listen to us, the more people give us a shot. And I think I want to give our band a shot,
Well, deservedly so. I mean, the music is there and the production is there. I mean, the songs are there. I mean, it's this last album, it resonated with so many people that I know. I got turned on to it, and it was a fantastic record. But, In the Dark is just one of the best albums released in 2022. And if you haven't heard it yet, for those listening, go check it out. It's available on all streaming sites. You can get the physical copy on the Abrams website. It's just a fantastic record.
Thanks so much, Jay. It really means a lot, just hearing that. And like I said, again, we're proud of it, and we're excited to keep going.
Is there a level, and this might sound like an obvious question, is there a level of frustration that you can put out something like this good and you got to fight for it to get noticed? Or is that just what you guys have come to expect?
You're always going to want more, right? No matter what level you're at. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. I've got, friends, in bigger bands, and even my brother, who's in decent sized bands. He plays, with, he's a drummer for Nebula and Mono Generator. He's played with like Kirk Hammett and Rob Trujillo and, pros, big time, professional, legendary Hall of Famer rock and rollers. And, those bands all do, like his bands all do great. They go to Europe, they make money. He can pay rent playing music. And, I still feel like you're always going to want to level up. You're always just going to want to level up. So, sure. Yeah, you can get frustrated, but, like I said, the reason we don't do it for the money, man. Like we love to perform. We love, when people are able to hear it and they respond to it positively, that means the world to us. So, like, you're always going to want more, but as long as you're staying true to yourself and, true to the music, writing honest stuff, I think people are going to catch on, and we're not going to slow down anytime soon. So we're just going to keep working.
Zach, it's been a great conversation, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for having me.
That is Zach from the band Abrams. Check out the album In the Dark, as I just mentioned, available on all streaming sites. You can follow Abrams on all social media platforms. The links are on their website. What's the website again?
It's abramsrocks.com. Our Instagram handle is @abramstheband. And if you just Google like Abrams Denver, you'll be able to find everything, vinyl, merch, Bandcamp, through our label too. Small Stone Records is selling a bunch of stuff too. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that's Abrams, Abrams for those listening. There's no H in it. So check that out. Great record. Highly recommend it. Chris Cordetti is going to be extremely happy about this interview. He's been a big champion for the band, talking about Abrams for a while and the music. So glad we were able to do it. Glad we were able to have you on, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everyone, once again, that's Zach from Abrams. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. Start enjoying your summer out there. It is here. The heat's here. The barbecues are here. The cold beer's here. Whatever you're into, go enjoy. And we'll see you next time. Talk soon. Thanks.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.